Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Jackson Show. I'm your host, Jackson Ahmed, and today we are going to be going over the recap of this weekend's games, as well as my. We're going to try a couple of different things on today's show. One of the different things that I'm going to try. So we're going to kind of figure things out as we move along throughout the show. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. It means so much to me, so please do that. And without further ado, I'm just going to jump straight into the video. All right, so we're going to start with a recap of this weekend's games. I'm going to start with a top 20 matchup. It was Big Noon Saturday. I had it listed as Game of the Week on Friday's show. It was Texas Tech versus Utah. Let's see here. So Tech travels to Utah. They're the number 17th team in the country. This is, I'm just going to be honest, not the greatest choice to have a game on the Pacific Coast start at 9 a.m. Pacific time. But, I guess when, we want things, we just say, forget it. Let's just throw all logic out the window. So, okay. Cameron Dickey ran in the first touchdown of the game, followed by a Texas Tech field goal. Utah would follow with a field goal of their own. 10-3 is your halftime score. Coming out of the second half, a Texas Tech field goal. Wayshawn Parker with a rushing touchdown to make it 13-10. Terrence Carter caught a touchdown pass from Will Hammond to make it 20-10. Cameron Dickey, a touchdown run to make it 27-10. And then Reggie Virgil with a touchdown reception, making it 34-10. They scored within 40 seconds. Texas Tech won the game 34-10. My thoughts on this game was Texas Tech might legitimately be for real. Like, I 100% did not expect what I saw from Texas Tech's defense. Arguably, one of the best in college football this season. They balled out on that defensive line, and the secondary rarely let up big plays. But the ability of Texas Tech's offense, Brennan Sorsby got injured in this game, and I'm not sure if he's going to play this week, right? I'm not sure if he's out for the long term, if he's going to come back. But the way Will Hammond stepped up, at a big-time performance, it is remarkable and fantastic. Not much else I can say about, and it's just Utah's defense. Really, we thought it was much better, but the opponents on their schedule weren't really that good. But the offense, I expected more out of the offense. 10 points doesn't really cut it. It's not enough, in my opinion. All right. Moving on to Michigan and Nebraska. This was the 3:00 game in Nebraska. So Michigan would get the scoring going with a field goal. Then Bryce Underwood had a touchdown run. Field goal from Nebraska. Touchdown pass from Dylan Raiola. Justice Haynes had a touchdown run. Touchdown pass from Dylan Raiola at the end of the half. Then a field goal from Dom Zavada from Michigan, 20-17. Or excuse me, halftime score was 17-17. Then Michigan came out of the half, kicked a field goal. Then a rushing touchdown from Michigan, 27-17. Followed by a Nebraska field goal, a Michigan field goal, and a Nebraska touchdown. A final score 30-27. Takeaways from this game, big time takeaways. To be honest, Michigan, receiving wise, I think you have to be much better. But this is really the identity of this Michigan football team was, how well they played. Hold up. Was how well they ran the ball. And they did a good job of running the ball. Plus, I feel like the secondary had some lapses at times, but they pretty much did a good job. Like, that secondary was pretty good. So, just saying, we're talking about, our defense, right? Michigan looks like their defense could be really good. Now, the biggest test that they're gonna have until they get to the Buckeyes, I'd have to say USC, because really all the other teams on the schedule, pretty much beatable, right? I doubt you lose to Washington at home or Purdue at home or Maryland or Northwestern or anything like that, or those games are really winnable. You're favored in those games, so really you shouldn't have any other losses before you get to the game, actually. So, and on Nebraska side of things, it's not the end of the world. I didn't really know much of Nebraska's team as a whole, but I did watch that game, and they didn't really do a good job of stopping the run, because the three Michigan touchdowns were all 35 plus yard runs. Justice Haynes had one from, I believe it was 70. Jordan Marshall's with 54. Bryce Underwood 37. So, you gotta stop the running game, and it has to be a priority, especially when you're playing a team like this. A team where they're going to try their best to assert their dominance through the ground game. You have to do your best to stop them from asserting their dominance through the ground game. So, Michigan did a good job of that, or Nebraska didn't do a good job of that. It's all about adjustments. They're going to adjust heading into this next week. But Michigan 3-1 heading into the bye week. They come off the bye. They play Wisconsin. And like I said, the rest of the schedule is pretty winnable for the Wolverines. Okay, next up is the Sunday in the NFL, recapping Rams versus Eagles. Didn't really watch the ending. But let's see. Eagles started off with a push touchdown from a yard away. So Jalen Hurts gets the rushing touchdown, 7-0 Eagles. Field goal by the Rams. Devontae Adams catches a deep touchdown pass from Matthew Stafford. Field goal. For the Rams, and then touchdown. And that would be the last time the Rams scored in this game, as the Eagles would go touchdown. One for Dallas Goedert, one for A.J. Brown, another one for Devontae Smith, and a block kick recovered by Jordan Davis, returned all the way to the end zone for a touchdown. Everybody keeps talking about the block kick, but no one talks about this team's ability to stay in the game and to come back and win the game. Because at one point you're down, I believe, 3 scores to come back and win it. And the Rams, I think there was 2 block kicks, if I'm not mistaken. There were 2 block kicks. Yeah, the Rams had back-to-back possessions. The Eagles, I'm gonna tell you what happened after that Rams touchdown, where they scored their last points. The Eagles went touchdown, and then each team turned the ball over on down. So the Rams had the short field. They got the ball, and it started on the Philadelphia at midfield, basically. They ran the ball, and the kick got blocked by Jalen Carter. Right? And then it happened again after the Eagles scored a touchdown. So, but the ability to come back from down 3 scores is incredible. And that's something that every team in the NFL needs. And really, last week, Eagles weren't impressive. Week 1, Eagles weren't impressive. This was the week where the Eagles were really impressive. They impressed me because they showed a little bit of dog, a little bit of fight. They weren't out of it till it was over. And so they looked and played really, really well. And so that's kind of the Eagles team that we all expected to see. the second half where they weren't down, like when they came back and they were up. Like that's the Eagles team that I think a lot of people expected to see. And if you're the Rams, like choke job is crazy, but it was a good game. You played your tails off. The Eagles were just better, and there's an opportunity this week to win the game. So I wouldn't beat myself up about it. We played well, or they played well, and the opportunity is still available. So, up next, second game was the 4:05 window with the Broncos taking on the Chargers. I watched the entirety of this game, except for the final drive. It's like, how are you going to cut me off on the last drive? But let's go. Started off with a field goal, and it was like that until the final 2 minutes of the first half, in which Omarion Hampton had his first rushing touchdown. It was the first rushing touchdown for the Chargers in 2025. Cortland Sutton had caught a touchdown pass from Bo Nix, 52 yards, and the halftime score was Los Angeles 10, Denver 7. Coming out of the half, J.K. Dobbins, big-time rush, 51 yards out the sideline. He makes a catch. It was really a backwards pass that got called a rush. His head is basically, I think, really low for a football player, but he makes a catch, makes a couple of guys miss, dives into the end zone, 14-10. Field goal. So it's it goes Broncos field goal, Chargers field goal, 17-13. Broncos field goal. Keenan Allen touchdown reception. I'm going to talk about that in a minute because that might be play of the week. And then Cameron Dicker knocks in the game-winning kick. Most accurate kicker in NFL history. Knocks in the game winner to win the game for the Chargers, 23-20. My thoughts on this game. I'm going to start with the... First of all, I want to say that, I've been thinking a lot. Najee Harris, you hate to see those types of injuries. You hate them. I believe it's his Achilles. And those types of injuries are the worst ones because they take you out long term. And sometimes you don't know if you're ever going to play the sport that you love again. So thoughts and prayers are with Najee Harris. But let's talk about the game. Coming out of the second half, really the entire first two quarters, you're like, oh my God, this game's going to be so boring. Although the Chargers were driving and it was like, okay, yeah, Chargers are going to dominate this game. They didn't. It was really close. Okay, I believe there were 3 passes where it was just a wide open Marvin Mims, where if Nix hadn't overshot him or if Mims had caught the ball, it's a touchdown and the game is a Broncos win. So lapses in the secondary. We can't get sloppy here, guys. We're playing Jackson Dart in the Giants next week. But, secondary was not perfect by any means. Second half, Justin Herbert, when we needed the drive to win the game, that was clutch. But it was kind of rough watching the Broncos score 17 consecutive points. That's kind of not great. Another thing about this game was Broncos defense was really hard to get points against. And that's bad news for the Bengals because those two teams are going head-to-head this week. So, yeah. Also, the catch by Keenan Allen was one of the most remarkable catches I've ever seen. I don't even know how he caught the ball. Because I'm like, that's an incomplete pass or it's intercepted. No, dude, he caught the ball. And I was just like, how in the world did he catch that? It was sick. And you get a punt and then you kick the field goal. So the Keenan Allen catch was insane. It was crazy. So I thought it was crazy at least. But maybe that's just me. And then after that, You were able to get a stop and get the ball back. So it was not a perfect game. There were a couple of wide open receivers, and offensively, you struggled on third down. But overall, you won the game. That's all that matters. But there are a couple of things that if I'm Coach Harbaugh, I'm going to correct heading into this week. Okay, so this is kind of the part where we have a new segment where it's kind of like I got 4 new categories, all right? We got upset of the week, blowout of the week, college player of the week, and NFL player of the week. We're going to start with the upset of the week, which in college football was Syracuse beats Clemson. And if I'm being honest, there's a real problem in Clemson right now. Like, I looked at the last 2 games. In the Georgia Tech game, it was a close game, and Georgia Tech's a good football team. So I can understand you not winning in that game. But I think the problem that I have is your defense this week got significantly worse, and that's bad. So something that we're looking at for Clemson is, can the defense get better and can the offense score points? I haven't watched anything Clemson since the first week of the season, but I can already tell. Like, okay, that's not true. I did watch a little bit of the Georgia Tech game, but I haven't seen it where I'm like, okay, this is the only game I'm going to watch. No, I've been watching other games. I haven't been that invested in Clemson this year. So it's you know, like, you got to get it together. And I don't know what the issue is with the offense, but it's pretty messed up. All right. And then in the NFL, the Browns beat the Packers. And I was talking to my Packers fan. I'm not gonna mention him by name, but I was talking to my Packers buddy, and I was like, "Yo, you okay, man? What happened? Myles Garrett that scary? Because he might literally be the only person on that defense. Like, Browns defense. Let's be real. If we're talking about the Browns defense being good, the Giants defense is good. All right. There's a standard, right? One player does not make a defense. Okay. We're Denzel Ward. He's still a good corner. He's a good cover. I mean, he's a decent corner, but the rest of the secondary is not good. The rest of the defensive line is not good. The linebacker room has promise, but it's not really showing anything now. So this was incredibly surprising to me. The Browns beat the Packers. And you know what I think? I think it comes down to the jerseys. Browns were wearing some special jerseys, couldn't lose in them. And so the Packers threw. Or maybe they were distracted by the Browns jersey because they look like a piece of chocolate. I don't know, man. It made no sense. Okay. I don't understand why. I looking at it on the field, it did look better than when they first revealed it, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a big time fan. Maybe I'm a hater. So those 2, blowout of the week, Indiana versus Illinois. I don't know how many people watched that game, but once Indiana went up 21-7, I was kind of checked out. It was kind of like, okay, yeah, let's see what Florida's doing in Hard Rock Stadium. And it wasn't even, that game wasn't going to be close. And it got to a point where it's like, okay, I'm just going to watch TV. It's not even worth watching this anymore because they're both blowouts. And that was like, okay, game day's really going to go to Miami to watch Florida-Miami. I'm getting off track here, but yeah, this game was really boring. From what I watched, right? Because I didn't watch the entire game because once they went up 2 scores and they, Illinois, Indiana, okay, they went up 2 scores, right? And they forced Illinois to punt. And that's kind of when I knew, okay, yeah, this game's over. I'm checked out. I'm done, right? 63 points was not the end result I expected. But getting a second half shot, okay. Let's be realistic. Indiana's defense played really well. They did. They played really well. They got stops. They were able to get in the backfield and sack Altmaier. And, I mean, you want to talk about, Illinois, returning starters, they have one of the best units in all of college football. No, they don't. They just got embarrassed, man. I don't know if Indiana's defensive line is just that dominant or if Illinois is just that bad. I'd like to think that Indiana's just dominant. 63 points is crazy. Also, I had the Vikings over the Bengals. Shout out to my boy, the Vikings fan. You know who he is. If you know, you know. But basically what I'm trying to say here is this is a big-time win for the Vikings. No JJ McCarthy. And I was talking to a couple of guys today, and they were like, that wasn't even Carson Wentz. That was the majority of the defense. And I'm like, guys, the defense scored 2 touchdowns, not 48 points. They put the offense in a good position, but they didn't score all the points. Like some of that you have to give credit to Carson Wentz, right? It's not the defense did everything 100% themselves. Some of that's just part-time Carson Wentz. All right, and he had 2 passing touchdowns, right? And so he wasn't bad. It might be that just the McConnell system works better with vets than it does rookies. I can't remember the last time the Vikings drafted a quarterback. It might have been Teddy Two Gloves. Or at least one that was like starting caliber, you know what I mean? So but yeah, and the Bengals, looking at it, it's just offensive line is bad, and now we know why Joe Burrow is not active. It's because the offensive line isn't really good. Jake Browning didn't make great decisions. It was not a great week to have Jamar Chase in fantasy. 5 catches for 50 yards, no touchdowns. It was rough. Really rough. It was, I'd like to say it was competitive from early on, but I can't say that and be honest at the same time. So it's kind of yeah. All right. Got through the blowouts of the week. Now time for the college player of the week. I'm just going to spoil it for you. They're both quarterbacks. So, right. So for college player of the week, I have Texas Tech Will Hammond. He came in a couple snaps in the first half. And they didn't really move the ball down the field. He took, I think, 2 snaps. It was on one series. I think he threw an incomplete pass, handed the ball off, and they punted. And then in the second half, that's when we knew Sorsby was going to be out for the game, right? He came in and got injured pretty early in the second half. So he was done for the game. The fact that he was able to enter the game and keep the offense moving, the offense that wasn't having much success with the starting quarterback at the helm, that was pretty impressive. Maybe it was Utah's defense was getting tired, but I give all the credit to the backup quarterback who came off the bench and balled out. That is 100%. All the credit goes to you, brother. 100%. That is, we give you the props. The flowers go to you, right? So I'm doing my best to keep this as short as possible. So we balled out this weekend in Utah. And if he's the starting quarterback this week, I'd be fine with that. Because I think he's going to do the same thing again, right? For NFL Player of the Week, I gave it to Justin Herbert. Kind of not sure. People are going to say, there's bias there. But I don't have any bias associated with picking my quarterback for NFL Player of the Week because he played good. I was going to give it to Josh Allen, but that would be glaze. I would give it to Jalen Hurts, but I don't think he played well enough to win it. I would give it to Sonic and Knuckles, but that's 2 players. Jared Goff had a decent game, but it's like all the players I immediately thought of for having a good game, just Herbert just stood out the most. And I would have given it to Keenan Allen because he had the catch. But Herbert, he spread the ball around, got it to his weapons, and eventually they were able to get the game-winning drive and win the game, and that's kind of sick. I have my Thursday Night Football prediction, but I just wanted to mention that the block kick palooza was insane. There were like 3 block kicks in a span of 10 minutes. It was insane. Plus, we had 7 game-winning drives in the final, I think it was 4 minutes of football games. That's the first time that's happened since the merger in 1970. Okay. So my Thursday Night Football prediction, I wanted to slide something else in here, but I couldn't do it and keep it short. So I'm definitely going to post again tomorrow and Thursday, unfortunately. I hate doing it on Thursday, but I'm going to have to. So I could say my Thursday Night Football prediction for them, but I just would never remember to do it then. So I'm doing it now. So Thursday Night Football prediction is Seahawks versus Cardinals. The Cardinals are favored by 2, and I'm going to take the Seahawks. Reason why, right? The Cardinals, right? And it's a good argument. The Cardinals have not played really anybody on their schedule, and they lost to the depleted Niners. Like, there's an opportunity for the Cardinals to beat the 49ers this weekend, right? You beat the Panthers and the Saints. Those are 2 of the worst teams in the league. And I hate to disrespect the Saints like that. I hate to disrespect the Panthers like that, but the Panthers almost beat the Cardinals. So it's not like I'm completely disrespecting them by saying they're the worst team in the league. They're not really that bad. They're just, not as good, right? Or they're not bad. They're just not on the same level as the Cardinals, right? So the Cardinals would be favored, and understandably so, because they have a better record, right? But I take the Seahawks because I like their defense and I like their offense. And I think that they have a reliable system that works for them. And I think the only tough part, in my opinion, for this is them being on the road. Like, that's going to be difficult for them to deal with, right? But I think they'll be fine. So that is going to be today's show. I always enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. But thank you so much for listening to The Jackson Show. A reminder to like, comment, and subscribe. And always, don't forget to tune into the next episode of The Jackson Show. And as always, bring a friend.